this man's name came up in the interview, or at least his former company did. He is, of course, now the president of Bellator MMA. He is the one and only Scott Coker, and he joins us right now via the phone. Scott, how are you?
Great, Ariel. How are you?
I'm doing great. Thank you so much for joining us. By the way, you see a guy like Verdum, and you're the one that gave him a second life. You take satisfaction. I know it's not your company and all, but I know deep down you're a great guy. Do you take satisfaction from stories like that where guys that you were able to help get back on their feet, and now look how good they're doing? If it wasn't for you back in the day, Strikeforce, who knows where Verdum would be?
Yeah, I'll tell you, one of the magic moments, I think, in our company's history at that time was his fight with Fedor.
Yeah.
And, there's just so many great memories of that fight and the hype and the build-up. And really, I don't even know if Fabricio thought he could beat Fedor at that time. And, we just had all these back and forth with, the M1 camp. And when, the fight happened and the upset, became reality, I mean, just the look on everybody's face in that arena, it was something I'll never forget.
All right, let's talk about you now. Bellator, a great show on a Friday evening. You guys continue to roll along, but there's some breaking news, and I want to see if you can confirm it. Apparently, Douglas Lima and Paul Daly going to social media, but we want to hear it from the horse's mouth right here. Is it, in fact, true that fight is off?
Yes, that fight is off. Lima got injured, so he's off the fight. We're probably, 6 or 8 hours away from announcing Paul's new opponent, but we'll announce it later today once we get everything back. But we also had another injury in Bobby Lashley. So Bobby Lashley's injured his hand, so he will be off the card. But we're gonna replace that fight completely. Actually, Errol, the one with Thompson versus Lashley, and we're gonna put on a big super fight. And it's something that this person's been asking me for a long time, to move up in weight and try out the heavyweight division. So I said, okay, this might be a great time, and let's get it on. And King Mo is going to step up to heavyweight, and he's going to fight Czech Congo in a super fight on the 27th at the Mohegan Sun.
Wow. Well, that's interesting for a few reasons. That's a British invasion card. That's the theme. Congo, I know he trains with Wolf's Lair, but he is not from England. So are you... Were you hesitant to do that, to not, change the theme of the card?
No, you know what? I'd say we have 4 fights, and that's what we normally have in in an event. And so we have 4 fights that are still a British invasion, and now we just added a big super fight on top of it that I think the fans will really appreciate.
So King Mo going up to heavyweight to fight Czech Congo. Why move him up to heavyweight? I mean, he's doing so well. He's back on track now. When guys move up and add on some muscle, some weight, sometimes things go awry. Why are you in favor of this move?
This is something that he's been asking me for
really?
Probably the last 5 months. Yeah, he said, hey, I want to go up to heavyweight. I want to fight there. And he said eventually he wants to drop to 185. He wants to fight Halsey there. He goes, I can beat anybody in the heavyweight division. I can beat anybody in your in the 185 pound weight class. So he feels that he could be the complete fighter at 205 heavyweight and 185. But I said, look, you know what, are you really going to want to cut down to 185? And he said, no, I don't want to cut. I'd rather go up. So he said, if the opportunity ever came up, he'd love to fight Czech Congo. And I said, well, here we go. Let's get it on.
So is this a pit stop for him, or is he now going to make a run at the heavyweight belt?
You know what? Let's just wait to see what happens in the fight. I mean, this is something that Czech Congo was a cut off guard, too. He kept asking us, are you sure this is a heavyweight division fight? I mean, because he didn't believe that Mo wanted to come up. And, I said, no, he wants to get it on. So, I'm going to take a look at the fight and see how it goes, for King Mo. And if he performs well, we'll give him some more heavyweight fights if he wants them.
Did you offer this fight to Thompson first? I heard that was the direction you were going. And if so, why is it not King Mo Thompson?
Yeah, we actually offered the fight to Thompson first, and, he really has his eyes and heart set on Lashley. So, we're going to let Bobby heal, and then we'll probably put that fight back together at some point. But he's okay to wait, and he actually wants to wait. So that's a fight that we can have down the line. But, it was offered, but, he didn't want to fight Mo. He said, I've been training for Lashley. I've been, working on his style, and, I think there's a little familiarity with them, because they fought before. So I think that he wants to just wait and fight Lashley in the next 3 or 4 months.
I know you said you're 6 or 8 hours away from announcing the Paul Daly fight, but why do something then when you could do it right here and now, right?
Well, you know what? I would love to do it. It's just I'm waiting for the contract to get back. So
Ah,
I want to make sure that we have all our ducks in order here, and then we can announce it. But we'll send it to you first, Ariel.
well, that's very nice of you. Can I ask you this? Will Paul remain in the main event?
You know what? I think the main event now is going to be the fight between Emmanuel Newton and Liam McGarry. I
Okay.
really feel that fight deserves to be the main event. It's our title fight. So we'll probably go with that as the main event. But I still think Paul should be the semi-main event, and then we'll go from there.
And is it a serious injury that Douglas sustained? Will he be out for a long time?
You know what? My understanding is that he'll be out for about 2 or 3 months,
Okay.
and then he'll be back. So hopefully by summertime we'll have him in a big fight with the winner of the Daly fight.
Okay. And do we know the Daly opponent? I mean, is it a big name? Is it a medium-sized name? Can you tell us anything about that?
You know what? I'd rather just hold off, but I mean, we're going to put fights that are going to be exciting, that are going to be competitive, and fighters that have a good record to fight Paul. We're not going to put Paul in there with just anybody, because he's a world-class competitor at the highest level, probably the best striker in MMA, or at least one of them, arguably one of them, the best strikers in MMA.
Sure.
And so we're going to put him with a tough opponent, test him out, and then the winner can fight Lima when Lima's ready.
This is kind of fun. Your lightweight champion, Will Brooks, I'm sure you know him. He had a great win over Michael Chandler. He is listening to our interview right now and just tweeted me. And he said, ask Scott Coker if I can fight Shinya Aoki. What do you make of that?
You know what? I tell you, if that's something Will really wants, I mean, we can start working towards that. I just didn't know if that was really important to him. We have a good relationship with 1FC, and I know that Shinya's been fighting for IGF as well. So, I can make a couple calls and see what we can put together.
You were just in Japan. What was that trip like? Did you get any business done?
I'll tell you, it was nice to go back, and, when I was working for K1, I spent about 10 years there, and seeing some of the just most amazing fights. I mean, to see the K1 in its heyday, to see Pride in its heyday. I mean, I think that the fans, the new fans today, are really missing out, because it was something special, something spectacular, and they just had that wow factor. And I went to a couple of fights. I went to three different events in 5 days. Went to see some some of the local guys in the gym and see what the talent level is there, and see when the resurgence is going to start happening. Met with some of the key players in that industry, and that are you and I, we talked about Saki Guevara already and his mounting comeback. I met with IGF people, met with sat down with Fedor, with just all of different fighters, and it was just a great time, and I'm glad I did it, because as dominant as Japan was in the past, I think that there's a place for them in the world of mixed martial arts to make a resurgence, and I think that what Saki Guevara is working on over there is very special, and I think that he's going to come out with a big bang before the end of the year.
So you believe that they can get back on their feet. You are hopeful that Japan will. I don't know if they can return to their glory days. I don't want to put you on the spot like that, but you think that things are looking up in Japan.
I can say this: anybody throws a fight on New Year's Eve, and can sell tickets, and actually have people show up, and then throw a fight the night before, and then a boxing match the night before, and then a kickboxing fight, a new show called Blade the night before that. I mean, here's a country that really is just, the word I was told was they're just sleeping. They're waiting for the next resurgence of a Japanese MMA promotion.
Mm-hmm.
Because even though, let's say, for instance, the UFC is there, once a year. It looks like they were there once a year. It's not really a Japanese-owned, made-for-Japan type show. And, they're going to want their own. And they're going to want to, have it look and feel what they're used to seeing. And, I think that that's what they're waiting for. So, as successful as the UFC has been there, it's the sustainable business model of a Japanese promotion like K1, like Pride, who did 8, 10, 12, 15 events a year in the country of Japan. That's a much different business model. So I think that that's what you will see with a new with a new ownership group and a new entity that's moving forward with their project.
And you tweeted a picture of both you and Fyodor Emelianenko on New Year's Eve. Did you try to entice him to come fight for you?
You know what? I had a conversation, and he made it very clear. Look, right now I'm not interested in fighting, and I work for the Ministry of Sport. I think he's very happy doing that, and I think he's definitely wants to stay involved, and he's involved with MMA growing in Russia, and that's his primary goal right now. And whether he changes his mind or not later, Ariel, that's going to be up to him. But it doesn't hurt to ask.
Yeah, of course. I give you respect for doing it and making the trip. Perhaps a role like Royce Gracie in Bellator, was that discussed?
Well, you know what? We talked about a lot of different things, and we talked about the temperature, maybe even bringing Bellator to Russia.
Okay.
And working something out with him, and he's very politically connected there, and I think he works for Vladimir Putin, running the Russian MMA program for the country, mostly as an amateur ambassador. So we talked about a lot of different things, but I look forward to seeing him soon, and I'll keep you posted.
Obviously, big news story over the last month was Rampage signing with UFC. The UFC has recently announced his return fight, April 25th in Montreal against Fabio Maldonado, and it doesn't seem like right now there's a roadblock, and I want you to correct me if I'm wrong. I mean, is this going to the courts? Will you try to stop this from happening? What's the status?
Errol, I wish I could comment, but I just can't comment on something that's already been turned over to the attorneys, and I just can't comment on it. I've been told to just stand down, and I'm gonna have to stand down on commenting.
Okay, can I just ask you, are you surprised they announced his next fight while this is all up in the air?
You know what? I'll tell you honestly, in this sport, nothing surprises me anymore.
Fair enough. That's a good way to put it. What's the status with Mirko Krokop? You spoke about him on Friday evening, and a lot of people wondering if he will sign with Bellator. Is that something that is close to being done?
You know what? I talked to my guys today, and I'm not sure if we're gonna get there. And there was I feel that there's a certain amount that a fighter, even as great as Mirko was in the past, that the value is worth a certain point, and I think that they'll probably end up fighting elsewhere, and we wish him luck.
I don't know if you know this, but on his Facebook page, he posted a picture of the UFC logo. Do you know if he is talking to them, if he then took that offer? I mean, do you have any idea why he would do that?
I don't know, but you know what? I'm sure he's talking to everybody. I'm sure he was talking to everybody, while we were talking. So, when you're a free agent like that, I think you're going to be reaching out to all the leagues that might be interested.
So this past Friday, as I mentioned, you had your show. Patricio Pitbull looked great. A really fun fight. He finishes Daniel Strauss, also Giorgio Carcanian finishing Bubba Jenkins very early. I think that was somewhat of a surprise to some. This feels like your real debut with Bellator. I mean, I know you had the back end of last season, but now it's your shot, you and Rich Chow. I mean, your fingerprints are all over this stuff. How did you feel about the first show?
I thought it was a great show. I think that the talent in that featherweight division in Bellator is as good as any league out there. These guys are world-class fighters, could fight anybody. And, that fight had a lot of adversity for Pitbull, went back and forth, and there were some, penalties along the way. But, at the end of the day, I think you saw some world-class fighting at the highest level, and I'm proud of those guys. And with Georgie K against, Bubba, I really didn't know what to expect. I've never really seen Georgie K fight before. And he proved to me that he is a stud, man, and this guy is going to do a lot of great things. And I'm looking forward to the fight with him and Pitbull in the summer.
Which division do you like the best right now? Which one are you most excited about?
I'm really excited. There's two divisions that really, I mean, I like watching like fights. Like if you could put Manoff with Schilling, that's what an amazing fight at 185. And then like Paul Daly and Lima, that's going to be another amazing fight when that happens. So I like fights, but I tell you, if you look at overall in the weight classes, I really love the featherweights that we have, and I also love the 205-pound class that we have in light heavyweight. And if you look at McGarry and Linton Vassell and Emmanuel Newton and just those, and King Mo even in that weight class as he goes back and forth. I mean, there's some tremendous talent in the 205-pound weight class and the featherweight division. So, but in saying that, Errol, I really like there's certain fights that I like, and I think that we have fighters in all weight classes that can put on great fights, and we'll have great matchups for them.
How bullish are you on the free agent market these days? I mean, you signed Kimbo. The Mirko thing came out. Are you actively seeking, big names? Do you feel like you have a nice enough roster right now? How would you describe your aggressiveness these days on the free agent scene?
Well, there's going to be free agents that come from time to time. It's going to be our job to build these fighters from the ground up that we have, and keep building them and keep building them, and what a great platform we have with Spike TV to keep building these new stars. And it kind of reminds me of Strikeforce, really, is that we bought a few free agents, which it's not just us going after them. Believe me, they're calling us. Ariel. This is not something that the one-way street where we're just going after fighters. And you know what? We're going to win some and we're going to lose some, and that's just how the nature of this beast is going to be. If you're a free agent out there, or you're going to become a free agent, you're going to want to talk to everybody, and you're going to want to use your leverage to get the best deal you can. And we're in a position now with the Viacom ownership group that there's not going to be any fighter that's out of the price range. So if we feel the deal's right and the fighter's right, we're gonna do it.
Were you interested in CM Punk?
We had talked about it honestly, but we had never reached out to him or never made that call, and we were not in dialogue with him by any means. And it was just like, well, how do you think he would do? I mean, he's never had a fight before. Do you think he really wants to fight? I just didn't even know if he really, really wanted to fight. So let's see. Let's see how he does in his debut.
What about this Alberto Del Rio character? Is he going to fight in Bellator?
You know what? I'm not sure. I'm not. From everything I understand, is that he's still pro wrestling and he's been very busy pro wrestling and even though he's had some great MMA fights, he fought he fought Mirko before and fought I think a couple of the big names. At the end of the day, it's a different sport completely, and it's all good till somebody punches or kicks you in the face, right?
Yes.
So it's a little different, and so to me it's really I know that they're still in dialogue, but is he going to become a main fighter? That I cannot answer.
Do you have a wish list? Like, are there a couple guys at the top of a list, or girls, men or women, that you would love to be in business with, who are attainable, like that can be signed? I mean, of course, there are guys like George St. Pierre and John Jones, but they have contracts with the UFC. Are there people out there that you would love to get in Bellator who you can go after right now?
Yeah, I think that that's an internal list that we'll keep internal.
Okay.
And like I said, we're still talking to people, but Errol, as much as there's some free agent activity, and then there'll be some more free agents throughout the year. At the end of the day, man, we gotta build from the ground up, and that's what I think we were really good at doing in the past. And if you look at the guys that came from Strikeforce, I talked about this before, but I don't want to bring it up again and again. But we built a good foundation of stars that came from within, and I really think that's important, and we're focusing a lot of energy on that with Bellator. And so you know what, it's that same thing I've been saying for a long time. We got to build from the ground up, and then we'll buy from the top down, and that's going to be our league.
And finally, what's the status of the women's division? I mean, you're slowly getting into it, the 145ers. do you have a plan to introduce a belt? Do you have a plan to add others? What's the status?
Yeah, I know that Rich is talking to some girls right now, and we're going to keep growing the 145 pound weight class. And don't be surprised before the end of 15 if we had one more division. So,
what are you thinking of?
It's top secret.
Well, you just dropped a hint. You just dropped a little hint. I have to go after it. You can't just drop that if you're not interested in divulging, right?
Well, I'm sure you guys can figure it out. I mean, it's you don't need to be a rocket scientist to figure out that there's a 145, there's a one, UFC's got the 135, and there's a couple of spaces in between there.
Ah, yes. Okay.
Let's just leave it at that.
Okay, fair enough.
But here's the thing, from the very beginning, when we did the first female fight in the history of California, this is something that we were going to get behind, and that commitment level has not, gone away, and we're going to continue signing the best 145 pound weight class females that we can right now, and we're in dialogue with a couple that we should, probably, have some announcements here in the next couple of weeks.
Do any of them have a name that rhymes with Bina Larano?
None.
None. Okay.
She's a movie star.
So that's done. You're not going after that one anymore.
No, I mean, she's, her schedule is just, she's doing movies with Robert De Niro. Why does she want to get punched in the face?
Well, you turn back the clock, you bring in Kimbo, that's the next one that comes to mind, to be honest.
Well, with Kimbo, when we talked about Bellator, we talked about we're going to do some fun fights.
Yeah.
And when we thought about doing some fun fights, Spike actually brought us to, well, what about Kimbo? And let's face it, as far as the ratings deliver, bigger than anybody else. And whether it was on CBS or whether it was on Spike TV, as far as ratings, I mean, the guy has, been known to deliver superstar ratings. So,
sure.
We don't have an opponent yet, but believe me, I have a list of 200 people that have emailed me saying, please let me fight Kimbo Slice.
Wow. Do you have a favorite? Do you have one that's on the leaderboard right now?
No, not really. We just got this signed, and I think that we'll probably start looking at that in the next 30 days or so.
All right. And do you have a debut? Do you have a date? Do you have a month?
We're probably talking about summertime sometime.
Sorry, you cut out there. Did you say summertime?
Sorry about that. I think that we're going to, have a dialogue with Kimbo, and if he's comfortable, we'll probably have his debut in Bellator in the summertime.
Heavyweight?
Definitely.
All right. Well, you've said enough, Scott. I appreciate it very much. You broke some news. You gave us some hints. It's all very good stuff. One more shot at Paul Daly. What do you got?
Well, you know what? I'll tell you. I will text you the name as soon as I get the bodyguard back. But that's where we're at right now. But you'll hear from me in a couple hours.
All right. Thank you so much, Scott. And of course, I remind everyone that the next Bellator event takes place. It is called Bellator 133. It's taking place February 13th, Save Mart Center in Fresno, California, airing live on Spike TV. The main event, a very fun one, Alexander Shlemenko versus Melvin Manhoef. Also, Pat Curran, the aforementioned women's featherweight division, also being featured. Julia Budd against Talita Noguera, which is a lot of fun. And then February 27th in Mohegan Sun, or at the Mohegan Sun, we've got that British Invasion card. Michael Page also fighting on that one. That's a lot of fun. Scott, appreciate the time as always, and we'll talk to you very soon.
Thanks, I appreciate it, buddy.
All right, there he is, Scott Coker, the president of Bellator MMA, stopping by. Great stuff as always for him. So you heard it here first. We have a new fight for that British Invasion card. It is King Mohammed Lawal going up to heavyweight to fight Czech Congo. And, being the stickler that I am, I would sometimes say, well, then it's not really a British Invasion card anymore. But Czech Congo does have those ties to the Wolf Slayer team, and they are, of course, based in England. So I feel like it works. It's good enough, and that's a lot of fun. King Mo going up against Czech Congo. Interesting fight, one that takes place in a little over a month's time. And now Scott just said that Emmanuel Newton versus Liam McGeary is the new main event for that card. Also on that card, Sokaju against Linton Vassell, Michael Page versus Curtis Mylander, and Paul Daly versus TBD.